For this first lab activity, you are going to be practicing the law of reflection. Now, what I suggest you do is first, before we do anything, take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle of the paper. Maybe use a straight edge so you get a really nice line down the middle. And then I'm going to align my protractor right here on my piece of paper. Now, depending on your protractor, usually they have a little mark in the middle. Mine has a little hole in the middle. That's the center of my protractor where all the angles are measured from. So that little mark at the center of my protractor is going to go right back here, right at the edge of my paper, okay? And then along the sides here, I'm going to mark all of my angles. So here is my normal line, and then all of our angles that we think about with reflection and refraction are always these angles with respect to the normal. So I've marked my 10 degrees on either side of the normal, my 20 degrees on either side of the normal, 30, 40, 50, and so on, okay? You might also want to go smaller angles if you wanted to go 45 degrees or so. For this first one, for this first reflection, a law of reflection activity, I don't want to have too much stuff going on the board right in front of me here. I'm going to remove this protractor because the protractor can actually impact our ability in order to get good measurements for the law of reflection, because the plastic itself has a little bit of reflectivity and we want to use the mirror. So now I've marked my angles. You could even label them 10, 20, 30 degrees from the normal line, and so on, all the way up to 90 on the other sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mirror. You have your mirror, there's a film, a plastic film on top of your mirror. Remove that plastic film. We don't want that on there. We want our nice reflecty surface. And you might want to have an additional pair of hands, or you can have something to rest your mirror against, and that's what I'm going to do here since it's just me. Okay, and so you're going to have a chart that gives you the angle of incidence for this experiment, and then you have to see what is the angle of reflection. Okay, then so I'm going to bring in my laser here. Oops, here's my laser. Let's say that I have an incident angle of 10 degrees, and I want to see what my reflected angle is. So I'm going to take my laser, and to the best of my ability, I'm going to try to aim it right along the mark that I marked as 10 degrees here, and then aim it directly toward the center of my mirror here, which should be aligned with the normal, or the this line here, which we're calling the normal, down the center of my page. So if I'm coming in at an angle of 10 degrees, incident angle, striking the back of my mirror right there, I'm going to see my reflected angle. And there we can start to see my reflected angle. Now you're going to have to be super precise with your laser. You're going to do some fine scale movement to wiggle your laser up and down so that you get just the right angle of incidence here, striking the back of your mirror, and then you can get just the right angle of reflection. So I didn't do that one quite right. There's my angle of reflection. Okay, and then I'm going to mark that down and see what the trend is as I increase my incident angle to 20 degrees, see what my reflected angle is on the other side, and so on. And you should be able to notice a trend. Oop. So like right there, I wasn't aiming directly toward this point in the middle, in the center of my mirror, where I'm marking all of my incident angles and my reflected angles. And that can impact your measurements if you do something like that. So here I've got my angle of incidence of 20 degrees, and then I can see my angle of reflection on the other side, okay? So we're going to play around with that and see what pattern you notice between your incident angle and your reflected angle, and hopefully it aligns with our law of reflection.